This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
We get this. We get kind of a vacation itinerary from one of our friends on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Good morning. Going fishing and camping for 3 days at Lake Tom Steed near Snyder, Oklahoma, running a trout line for big fish. Would you want to go tent camping this time of year, or would you like to RV it?
Sure. I'm not a big fan of the RV. Okay. Yeah, I would love it.
Would you want to go up in the mountains though, where it's a little bit cooler, maybe?
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. I was for Arkansas to win in order to stretch the pitching of either of them. Long off season for the shortstop and left fielder. Going to be 100 plus in Omaha over the weekend. Ooh, you've been there for those days.
It gets hot there.
Yeah, it gets a little warm, and then the weather comes in, and you have a little thunderstorm and kind of cools everything off. So. There you go. No baseball today from Omaha, but we'll have baseball today from Arlington. Rangers will finish up their series with Kansas City. That'll be at 1. And the Astros will finish up their series with the A's tonight. We'll have it at 8:35 on 100.7 The Score. The other surprising news from yesterday, Jamie, is that the Buss family sold the Los Angeles Lakers for $10 billion. To Mark Walter, who is basically the owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers. $10 billion.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. It's a lot. I was surprised by that. Maybe they just were ready to cash out. They're going to keep a minority share. So $10 billion doesn't even buy you the whole team.
It's disappointing.
When you think about it, I'm like, if you're going to buy something, you want, and you're going to say, well, I'm going to buy this car. Well, how much is it? It's X, but I'm going to keep 15% of it. Oh no, but $10 billion, and you don't get the whole thing. And then the other thing that I thought was crazy is Jeannie Buss, who's the daughter of Jerry Buss, who has passed away, and he was the original owner and the patriarch of the Lakers for many, many years. She's going to remain as the governor and continue to run the team for at least a number of years. That seems odd to me. Just like it seemed odd to me that Mark Cuban stayed on with the Dallas Mavericks after he sold it. Because you go from, being the owner and being in charge of everything to now you've got to go talk to somebody about the budget.
Yeah, it'd be different.
Yeah, that just seems odd to me. It would seem to me that the new regime would want to have a completely new regime, but it was guaranteed as part of the agreement, and apparently Mr.
Maybe
Walter,
she makes it an easier transition.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so. Just for the time being, a couple of years, something along those lines. The thing that was always kind of fascinating to me about this, at one point in time, the guy that owned the Washington Redskins, Jack Kent Cooke, he also owned the Lakers, and he also owned the Los Angeles Kings, and he owned the LA Forum. But he sold all of that, the Kings, the Lakers, and the Forum to Jerry Buss, who was a dentist, and then maintained control of the Washington Redskins until he eventually sold that. But there was a period of time there where if you were a baseball owner, you couldn't own anything else, but the NBA guys and the NFL guys were not as strict on that.
Okay.
For whatever reason.
I wonder why Major League Baseball.
I don't know. It just seemed like it was baseball didn't want you to own anything else. That's what I recall. Now maybe I may be a little off on that, but that was what was in my mind, because at one point in time you couldn't cross sports like that, but now that's like everything else. It's changed. Speaking of the NBA, does the season come to a conclusion tonight? You have Oklahoma City and Indiana playing tonight in Indianapolis, with the Thunder leading 3-2.
I would guess that it will. Feels like with the injury to Halliburton and the kind of momentum that Oklahoma City has right now, feels like they get it done tonight.
I just have this sneaking feeling that Pacers are going to ride momentum tonight. Halliburton, I don't think is going to play tonight. I don't have any knowledge on it, but just would seem to me with the type of injury that he has, they'd be better off playing somebody that's 100% than somebody that's 75. Okay,
we'll have to see.
We'll have to see
how close he is to 100.
Yeah, and Oklahoma City's favored by 6.5. Of course, they'll have the crowd behind them, all those kinds of things. And maybe the Thunder comes in thinking tonight's the night, and they kind of resting back on their sneaks a little bit.
Maybe.
They catch them off guard. Somebody asked, doesn't Cuban still own part of the Mavs? Yes, but he's not the majority owner. That's my point, is that he's not in control of the franchise like he once was. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have traded Luka Doncic. I don't think Mark Cuban makes that trade.
I don't have any idea what Mark Cuban's opinion is on that.
Yeah, I just don't think he makes it. I don't think he makes that trade.
He's a big fan of the big fish, so maybe you're right.
Yeah. I seem to think more for what other people think than you do, but maybe that's it's like
there is no doubt.
There is no doubt. Yeah.
Not that Jamie doesn't care what people think about. There is no doubt you care more about what people think about you.
No, not about think about me. I don't care what people think about me. I'm just talking about what people think about the others.
I said what I said. There is no doubt that you care more about what people think than what Jamie.
I don't. Me guessing what other people. What an NBA owner or a Major League Baseball player thinks or whatever. It's just hard. I guess if you feel like you know the personality and one of them has a history of something, then you can kind of guess.
It just seemed to me like Cuban's a kind of a domineering kind of guy, just from how he is in public and stuff like that.
Well, like I said, the fact that he seems to like the big fish and all that kind of stuff and the promotion. He's definitely a rule number one kind of guy. I would guess he would have wanted to keep Luka too. Yeah.
The Pacers are playing at home tonight. If I made that confusing for you, I'm sorry, but they are playing in Indianapolis tonight. Yes.
Yeah, you said they would have the home crowd with them. Yeah.
The person on the text line said, I thought the Pacers were home tonight. You're right. They are. So we'll see. Thunder's favored by 6.5, and Pacers trying to avoid elimination and, party in the streets in Oklahoma City tonight.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Today is June the 19th, 2025. With us today in sports history, here is Jeff McGuire.
Very first baseball game played under the lights happened on this day in an exhibition between the Elks Lodge teams in Cincinnati, Ohio. Guess the year.
I'm going to say 1897.
Jamie?
1878.
You guys are a little ahead of the curve. 1909.
1909. Okay.
On our favorite, 1924, Paavo Nurmi runs a world record 1,500 meter with 3 minutes, 52.6 seconds. 50 minutes later, he sets a 5,000 meter world record of 14:28.2 and also runs a world record 3-mile time of 14:02 flat within the event in the Finnish Olympic trials in Helsinki.
So this was 1924, right?
24.
Okay. And it was 14 minutes and
28.2 seconds for the 5,000 meter.
14:28. Okay, so the current world record for the 5,000 meter is 12:35.36. So it's only a couple of minutes. I mean,
still a lot.
It's still a lot, but it's 100 years later.
Yeah.
With tons of technology.
1961, New York Yankees outfielder Roger Maris hits his 25th home run of the season. He'd have a few more. 1974, Kansas City Royal pitcher Steve Busby throws his second career no-hitter, beats the Milwaukee Brewers 2-0. 2000 NBA Finals, Los Angeles Lakers beat the Indiana Pacers 116-111 in Game 6 to win the franchise's first title in 12 years. Shaq Fu was your MVP.
Wow, now here we are with another Game 6 tonight. Title on the line.
And in 2012, former Red Raider Josh Tomlin gets a no decision after going 6 2/3, allowing one run on 6 hits, 2 walks, 2 Ks, in a 3-2 Cleveland win over the Reds. It is National Martini Day.
I'm really kind of out. I'm out. I'm not even kind of out. I'm just out on the martini. I'm not a martini guy.
I don't have any vermouth. Like, that's why I haven't had a martini in my experiments of learning cocktails. I know how to make one. I just don't have the bottles.
I feel like you would have been, or maybe you were at some point in time, a bartender.
No.
Don't you think Jeff would make a good bartender? Because
No.
people that belly up to the bar, they like to, talk to.
They like to get their drink.
Hey, barkeep, and kind of share their stories and their souls. And Jeff would.
Yeah, I think he'd be good at the job, and I think he would be good at the social part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do think he would be a good bartender.
And people would tip him well, I think, because they'd feel like they met a friendly old soul.
I think people tend to tip the female bartenders better than the male bartenders.
Probably so. There's hope there, but maybe the female patrons would tip Jeff. Well,
maybe.
Felicia Rashad is 77 today. Dirk Nowitzki, 47. Jacob deGrom, 37. And Colin McHugh is 38. And on this day, 1953, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, who were convicted of conspiring to pass U.S. atomic secrets to the Soviets, were executed at Sing Sing Prison in New York. Both refused to admit any wrongdoing and proclaimed their innocence right up to the time of their death by electric chair. And that is this day in sports history.
All right, time for your lucky local winning word this morning at 6:50 exactly. All you have to do is go to doubleTSportsNetwork.com, enter this word, and you could win $500. You got to do it quickly because somebody's going to win cash today at some point in time today, just like our friend Javi Lopez did the other day. Okay, so your lucky local winning word this morning is, and I'm always interested in this word because between the team name and the car, I feel like it's pronounced differently. Like if you're in Europe and you have this kind of car and your team is this name, you would say Jaguar. Otherwise, it's Jaguars. Jaguar. That's the refined name of it.
Okay.
Jaguars. 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 Go to Double T Sports Network. Put that in. You could win some cash from Double T 97.3 in the home zone, making your house a home at 50th in Indiana. Somebody says this: bartending requires math.
I can do math. I just can't do math on the air. That's what we should not do, is math on the air.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
I think there's some attention to detail that goes into the bartending thing, too. Making sure that you get the right amount of each.
When the money comes out of your pocket, if you mess it up, I'm pretty good about keeping numbers.
Yeah, I don't know that that's always the case.
Do you think that we would struggle with that? Or, I mean, when I say we, me and Jeff.
This show would have struggles with that part. Mm-hmm.
Do you think maybe we could, that would be something. We could get we could bartend together.
No.
No. You have no desire to do that.
None, zero, zip, zilch. You couldn't pay me enough.
You could say, "Hey, my name's Jamie. What do you have? What are we drinking tonight? What are we having tonight?"
Yeah, that's not Jamie.
That's not.
I'll hang out with you guys, but I am not hanging out. I am not hanging out at a bar.
I'm not sure that you're hanging out with us.
I'm not either, but I'll tell you, I guarantee you I'm not hanging out with some guy who rolls into a bar Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Not happening.
Or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yep, not happening.
Not going to be a part of that. Okay.
Nope, not my thing.
No, I get it. I understand. I was thinking about that. I was getting ready for work this morning. Like, I don't have anything. This is a rare night. I don't have anything after work tonight. There have been times when I go to happy hour, but I just don't really have anybody to go to happy hour with tonight. So I'm not just begging to go. I used to go to a place that I lived right behind it. I called it Old Man Happy Hour, and I would go there. I'd have some snacks and have a cold beer, and I'd always see somebody that I knew, and then I'd walk out the door and walk across the street and go home.
That's probably where your conversation starters really come into play.
Oh yeah,
super helpful there.
Absolutely. You're just trying to
seem like the kind of crowd that would be into it. Yes. You've just described my nightmare. I mean, just kill me now.
You've got no desire for any kind of thing like that. Bartender quartet -1. Yeah. So
just the whole two people coming together, and they're forced to talk to each other, and like probably, I mean, the guy that's going to the bar probably wants to talk, right? He wants to have a conversation. Otherwise, he would just sit like at a table.
Yeah, the guy that just kind of sits there on the bar stool.
He wants to have a conversation. Even though he knows nothing about you and you know nothing about him, he wants to ask questions. He wants to talk.
Yeah. What's everybody
even though
doing
you
tonight?
likely will never see each other again.
Right. Yeah. Unless you're a regular. Yeah.
You've just described my nightmare.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
At 1 o'clock, they'll finish up their series with Kansas City. I hesitate using this word, but it's just true. They're going to try to salvage a game today.
Yep.
Could that be a proper use of the word salvage?
You can use it any way you want.
Okay.
I think we determined when we went through all the definitions that you could make a case for it to be either way.
Okay. So we'll have that for you, and then the Astros and the A's will play tonight in Sacramento. 8:35 will be the broadcast time. Have you seen any highlights from Sacramento in terms of what it looks like, and does it feel like a pseudo big league park, or does it feel like a souped up minor league park?
It just feels like a minor league park.
It feels like a minor league park.
Yeah.
It feels like a big college park.
I forget which pitcher it was for the A's.
Dallas Braden. I'm just throwing one out there.
Well, he's a broadcaster, okay, but
and a pitcher for them.
Not a current pitcher, okay.
You say current.
I didn't have a chance. Getting ready to say current.
I was going to go with Raleigh Fingers.
Okay,
that's a good one too.
Okay, Catfish Hunter, Paul Lindblad, okay, Vita Blue, okay, Blue Moon Odom, okay. Those are all pitchers for the A's back in their heyday.
Dennis
Eckersley, yes, as well. He played on a world championship team. Played on a team that should have won a world championship.
But only one of those guys went to Texas Tech and threw a perfect game on Mother's Day,
which would be Dallas Braden. Anyway, the point is that when the A's were in Houston, the Astros broadcasters were talking about this. One of the A's pitchers apparently sweats profusely and likes to go into the clubhouse to change, jerseys at different times during his start. Okay.
What a coincidence. So does Jose Altuve.
But the point is that in Sacramento, the clubhouse is in center field, as opposed to in Oakland was right there behind the dugout, like most places.
Yeah, that's weird.
So, it was just what they to make it a quote big league clubhouse. That's where they had to put it. They had to put it, out in center field somewhere. So it makes it a little more challenging.
Challenging for the sweaty guy.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Just like at Chuck's gym.
I have not run into him because I've been working out at night, and it's just been so much more pleasant. My schedule during the winter just didn't allow for some of that with who I was working out with, and so it's been a lot better just to work out at 6 o'clock at night. And I don't have to run into the sweaty guy who's, dripping sweat all over the place. Just disgusting. It's frankly nauseating. It makes me want to throw up, to be quite honest with you. Even thinking about that guy and seeing that guy, I can see that guy sitting on a bench, just with his head bent down, just sweating. Not because he worked out so hard, because he sat in the sauna too long, for whatever reason I don't know, and he just enjoyed, I guess, just sweating profusely over everything without a towel to wipe himself off.
I apologize. My bad. Sorry.
This 1,000% on the chatting coffee, folks. It's exhausting. So somebody else agrees with you, Jamie, on the coffee, folks. All right, back to our deal here. ESPN's predictions for wins for the year. They have Houston at less than 5 Big 12 wins, Arizona at 4.9, West Virginia at 5, Oklahoma State at 5.5. Texas Tech, as I mentioned, 7.9. Would you take 8 Big 12 wins right now?
To go 8-1 in Big 12 play?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all would. And it wouldn't really matter who you lost to, right?
Well, it could determine whether you're in the conference championship game or not. So.
Sure. If you go 8-1, do you think that's enough to get you into the Big 12?
I do.
I do too.
I would guess it would be.
Here's what this article says about Tech, and it's a tired statement, but it is true, but it's a tired statement. Texas Tech was the big spender this offseason, and the heat is on to ensure that investment translates into a much better return on the field and a more balanced conference. Now, here's the thing that I feel like that we've discussed it some, but have we discussed it enough? But there are also 2 new coordinators on the job who have to prove themselves. Is it the new players coming in or the new coordinators that you think is going to be the most challenging?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think both make it a challenge. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think both make it a challenge, and I think you're right in that saying that we haven't talked about it a ton, but it's a factor. The fact that you have 2 new coordinators and so many guys. I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing. I mean, you got so many new key players on your team. Everybody's learning it all together.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like others have had all these years in the system and you're trying to catch up to them. Everybody's kind of learning it together.
They have Tech at 7.9 wins, Kansas at 7.9, Baylor at 7.2, and TCU at 7.2, and UCF at 7.2.
That's a lot of teams that are 7.
I know, right?
And more wins in Big 12 play. Does the math even math?
I don't know that it does. That's a good point. I don't know. I don't know if you can have that.
I mean,
seriously.
9 through 16 going 0-9 and 1-8.
No, 9 through 16. I mean, Iowa State's at 6.7, Colorado's at 6.5, Utah's at 6.4.
So you're telling me the 9th place team in the Big 12 conference is going to win 6.7 games?
That's what they project them to win. Yeah,
almost 7 games.
Yeah. So I don't think
the 9th place team. We're rounding up. That's 7.
Yeah.
The 9th place team is going to win 7 games. ESPN has some math problems.
Yeah, they clearly were just looking at it from they weren't matching up like if Colorado beats Utah, that takes 1 away from Utah or whatever.
Right.
I think that's a good point.
What a crazy conference it would be if that was the case, right? 9 teams with 7 wins or more. The 7-2.
Well, you think about it. I mean, right in conference play, we're talking about because we're
7 or 2 and better, or better in conference.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Teams?
I don't know if that math can work out.
That would be, man. Shoot, you could win all your games in conference or non-conference, be 10-2.
Be ninth in the conference.
And be playing on December 14th in Shreveport. Like, what in the world?
Maybe a stupid article, but I think the 2 points that they make with regard to Texas. Let me ask you this: when it comes to the new coordinators, don't you think that offensively, philosophically, that it'll be closer to what it was last year, maybe, than what the defense is this year? That the things that
I sure hope that your offense looks more similar to last year's offense when I'm talking about success level than your defense looks to last year's defense. Because last year's defense was epically bad.
Right, no question. But I just feel like that it feels like
the style of offense.
Yeah, it feels like the style of the offense is going to be.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll ask you the question: how is the style of defense going to be different?
You're going to have better players because you'll be able to put pressure on the quarterback.
That's not a style.
I don't know. I mean, I think that you are going to put more of an emphasis of putting pressure on the quarterback and getting to the quarterback sooner. I think to keep from those plays lasting forever and your corners having to, cover down back there like 6-7 seconds. It seems like. I
think you tried to do that last year. You just weren't talented enough.
Okay, and I think maybe that's the difference.
Again, not a style change, just better players.
Better players.
Yeah.
Chuck, are you getting your articles at Dollar Tree? No.
Man, that would be a really fun conference.
Yeah.
Holy cow, that would be fun.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, gentlemen, we're talking Red Raider football today, and we'll continue that here on today's question of the day. And we've heard from the experts there at ESPN that think it's going to be a pretty tight race at the top. And by the top, I mean the top 9 teams of 16 in the Big 12 Conference. But I want you to, this partly depends on last year's record too. I want you to pick a team that you get to pick, not that who you think, but that you would love to see take a major step back. And I say major, that's 4 more losses in Big 12 play, and I want you to pick one that you want to take a major step forward.
Okay.
4 more wins than they had last year.
Okay.
If you had to, because you might, the second one is to me is harder, because who do I want? You can't pick the Red Raiders, obviously.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and Chuck, you can't pick Kansas either. Okay, so
okay.
One team that you want to take a big step back that you would think was funny and you would love every bit of it, and one step that you want to take a step forward, basically meaning it wouldn't kill you if they were better.
Okay. Now that they've got Scott Frost, that changes things. I probably should eliminate K-State from my taking a step back because, I mean, nothing would thrill me more than for them to go 0-9.
Yeah, I should have taken K-State away from
So I'll take it away from myself. I'll take it away from myself. I think it'd be fun to see Colorado take a huge step back, okay? I think that's going to be the low-hanging fruit. And it wouldn't bother me to see, in theory, it wouldn't bother me to see Arizona to take a giant step forward. Okay.
Okay.
There was a time when I liked Arizona when Dick Toomey was the coach there.
This is hard because the teams that I would want to take a giant step backwards, in fact, just go jump off a lake or jump into the lake and jump off a cliff and never come back.
Jump off of a lake.
4 games last year.
Jump off of a lake. Who's that? Houston?
Oklahoma State, Houston. Okay. Those two could go lose 4 more games. Wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't bat an eyelash. You can't go negative wins.
Yeah. If Oklahoma State just went 0 for 12.
Wouldn't disappoint you to see him go 0-8, go 0-9 again, though.
We're talking from last year, where who could win 4 more, who could lose 4 more. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma State can't lose 4 more. Much as I wish they would. I'll say Kansas State taking a step back, except that makes the inevitable loss to the Wildcats feel even worse. Step forward.
Are you just dismissing any opportunity at all to win that game for
Well,
Texas
if
Tech?
Kansas State lost 4 more games, Jeff, they would still be 1-8. They'd still have a chance to beat the Red Raiders.
This is what I'm saying. Like, that would be, it would make the loss to the Wildcats even worse. Yes, have you met me? I'm
Yeah.
already marking that down as a loss.
Okay.
Wins. Who would I want? Not Utah. Not West Virginia. Not Arizona State. Only because they had so many last year. It's hard. I guess Arizona, because they didn't have so many wins last year.
They won 2. Yeah.
But that would get them 6 Big 12 wins, and that's a big jump. And then they're in contention for, making your life miserable, which I'm not a huge fan of. I don't like my answers, but those are the ones I got.
So Arizona going forward and who going back?
Kansas State.
Kansas State.
Although, again, the inevitable loss to them, us being their one win, would make it all that much worse.
I think there's a lot to choose from who I'd like to take a step back. I'm a Red Raider, and I hate TCU. I'm supposed to, and it's in my blood, and so I would love to see them go 2-7. That'd be fun. I don't wish ill will on Sonny Dykes, but anytime TCU struggles, there's a little bit of fun there for me. So that would be the team that I would choose to take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a step forward is a little bit more difficult. I don't really want to see UCF gain any traction.
I agree.
Do I feel like they're a sleeping giant? I don't think I would say that, but I don't know. I guess Arizona would be my answer for taking a step forward too. For some reason, I don't have any dislike of Arizona.
Yeah.
Anything Arizona. I don't know why.
Yet.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll come at some point. I'm sure it'll come. Football last year, we won. I can't remember, anything that really stood out there. Their baseball program obviously is a good one.
But it's always been really good.
Yeah, basketball was a great atmosphere this year when we played them there. I was really proud of our guys for battling through, even though we ended up losing that game. I don't know. I just don't have a bunch of Arizona hate at this point.
Okay. I have a tendency to agree with you on that. I think UCF could be the TCU of this group of additions to the Big 12 because they've got a conference behind them now, and they're in a fertile recruiting base. Although, how much does that really mean anymore? Are there people willing to pony up and pay what it's going to take to compete for players, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the question that I have, and I would tell you too that they're going to need to step it up with regard to their facilities. I've not been in their football stadium. I've been in their basketball arena. It wasn't much. It wasn't much. And I went into their baseball stadium. You've been there. When I went in, and it wasn't
Arizona.
No, UCF.
Okay.
It wasn't much. I didn't think it was anything to just really write home about. 7:40 this morning here on the morning drive. In the Boom 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 is next, and a clarification from our friend the flying mammal, on the ESPN win predictors. He's got the knowledge, the flying mammal does, and we'll share some of that with you.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
We could kind of end it right there, just play that highlight
Again?
over and over and over and over and over. Wouldn't that be fun? 8:03 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Don't sound so giddy with the weekend. Oh, there you go, Jamie.
Go. It's our lucky day.
Well, I'll tell you,
30 seconds.
What a great night that was at Jones Stadium, and just the days leading up to that as well. Just the the energy around town. Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you from the First United Bank studio. You know, and to have it cap off the way that it did, I mean, you couldn't have written it any better with ESPN's Game Day here and just the buzz around town and around the stadium. And it was a incredibly difficult ticket to get if you didn't have one. And, you know, people just in the parking lot, you know, and I'm not going to say as many in the parking lot as there were in the stadium, but I mean, there's a good number that, you know, were just there just to experience the whole thing, just because you were having such a magical year. And then the next week, you know, taking on Oklahoma State and winning that game, and the atmosphere around town that whole day, it was like a rock concert every night at Jones Stadium. I just remember that. Just going, it was just crazy of how big that was. And I mean, I remember driving through. We had an event at a nightclub just north of the stadium that Friday night, and I remember driving home from that event and going by the stadium, and I just kind of drove through the east side, and it was like it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And at the time, I had to deal with my number 2 daughter saying, if you're not home by a certain time, you call me. And you know, when she was at home during the summertime, blah blah blah, just so I'd know that she was safe and everything. Just want to hear her voice. Hey, if you're not going to be home by this time, you call me, and then you can tell me where you're going to be, blah, blah, blah. And so I thought, well, hey, I'm not home by the appointed hour. I'll give her a call. So I called her. She's like, what are you doing? I said, well, I have this rule for you, so I should have it for me too. I said, I'm not home yet. Well, where are you? And she's like, her friends were like, what is he doing? Where has he been? What's going on? I said, well, I'm over at the stadium, but it's like a rock concert right now. The music's blaring. There's thousands of people over here. It's a lot of fun. But I'm going home now. Okay. And I've not had anything to drink, so I'm good to go. But at any rate, that those flags that came out after the touchdown, I mean, you ended up kicking off from like the 10-yard line, I think, when it was all said and done, with a second left. So, I mean, it made it a little dicey there at the end, where you just kind of had your butt cheeks clenched just a little bit, going, surely we're not going to give up a touchdown here on a stupid, couple of penalties, because the kids ran. It wasn't just the kids; it was townies too. Everybody trying to run out on the field, a mass of humanity. And then to see them orchestrated, how quickly they went back after the officials said, "Don't go back," and then they would all go back, and then they would go again, and then they'd all go back, and there'd be another flag, and then eventually the game kicked off, and then it ended the game. So finally.
Yeah, that 1 second took about 30 minutes. I
felt like, yeah, no question, right? And you're just kind of like, okay, what's going to happen now? And then it was massive humanity, and it was craziness, the rest of the night around town. Yeah, in a good way. Right. This couldn't have said it better, Chuck. Few people realized the big buildup was almost as big as the game. Well, I don't know if you were here. It was there. I mean, it was there all week. It was just, it's hard to get any work done because you were just anticipating the game and what was going to happen, and trying to figure out, where you were going to be and what were you going to do and what time you're going to get to the game, because it was a night game. So, I mean, hope for a day like that this coming season, where you get that much on the line.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think the general answer for that, though, Chuck, what time are you getting into the game? Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Monday might have been too late.
Yeah, Monday might have been too late. So it was a heck of a lot of fun. I think we know this, but I'm with Graham Harrell going into the Ring of Honor, where does he rank on your list of favorite Texas Tech quarterbacks?
I guess I would put him at number 2. That's hard for me because I just really enjoyed so many. I've enjoyed so many of them, but I think Kingsbury's number 1 on my list, and and Harrell number 2.
Okay. Where does B.J. Simmons fall? Does he fall down the line behind Mahomes?
Lethbridge.
He falls Zebby Lethbridge?
Yeah, I loved Zebby Lethbridge.
Okay.
It was when I was a Red Raider, and
Okay.
I was a huge fan of his.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't have a problem with Zebby Lethbridge.
I mean, I know BJ's numbers were phenomenal, and
Yeah.
he's a great Red Raider and a lot of fun on Twitter and all the above. I hold him in high regard. Lethbridge was while I was here, and
Yeah.
that was an impressionable time in my life.
Gotcha. A guy that I really liked, and this was early on when I got to Lubbock, in 1990s when I got here. My first year as a season ticket holder was 93. But a guy I really liked liked Robert Hall.
Hall was a good one.
I really liked him, and he's statistically he's not up there. I would tell you probably B.J. Simmons is up there for me.
My favorite. We haven't even mentioned him, and he's not in the same conversation. And reason that he is my favorite is because of post Texas Tech playing career, Rodney Allison.
Okay,
that's my favorite Texas Tech quarterback.
Okay,
never got to see him play. Hall of Fame dude.
Agreed.
Okay. If you've got a favorite that you would like to get on the record, hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app. It's presented by Happy State Bank.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.